Hi, I'm Julian from Space Pants Games, and this is the SEGA Lounge.
Welcome to the SEGA Lounge, where we celebrate our love for all things Sega, including the games, the music, and the community. I'm your host, KC. Join me as I talk to different guests and learn more about their projects and passion for Sega. What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the SEGA Lounge. This is episode 206, aka episode 35 of this 7th season of the show. So many numbers. Anyway, I hope you've been doing well and enjoying some games. Let me start by thanking everyone who took part in our Air Twister giveaway throughout the past week. Thanks to In Games, we gave away a Steam code for the game to one of our lucky listeners. The winner was Luke Frag, who got himself Air Twister on Steam. Congrats! And thanks again to the lovely people over at In Games for the code. If you want to find out more about the game, be sure to listen to last week's episode if you haven't yet. But now, it's time for something completely different. This week, I'm joined by Julian Scott, head of the brilliantly called Space Pants Games, who have been working on a lot of Mega Drive games, including both ports and original titles. Julian has a long career in the industry and is here to share stories from his past, but most importantly, to talk to us about what made him focus on Sega's 16-bit console after all this time. Check it out. Hello, Julian. Welcome to the SEGA Lounge.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
It's very nice to have you on the show. Always a pleasure to have, industry legends on the show. Yeah. We're going to talk about your past works a little bit. You're currently the head of Space Pants Games, right?
Yes. Space Pants Games is it's not just me. It's me and my friend Ben, who I've used to work with various times over the years, and this is our current thing. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm very curious. Why Space Pants?
Oh,
Maybe let's go with that right now, because that's my main question.
I don't know. It wasn't me. Ben came up with the idea. We were brainstorming for ideas, which means I don't know, what should we call ourselves? And I think he just drew some pants, as in British pants, which are underpants. Of course, not trousers like Americans might think. And he drew some of those and called it Space Pants, and that sounded good to me. Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Amazing. Okay, so Julian, before Space Pants, of course, you've had a long career in video games. So what I usually like to do with my guests is to start from the very beginning. How did you get into video games, and why? What led you to that path in life?
Yeah, my dad bought an Apple II computer, and I don't know when it would be, early 80s, like 82 or something like that. And that was quite posh then, actually. It was quite an expensive thing to have back then, and he used it for his business. And my brother was a bit older than me. He was doing computing at school, which was, I don't know what they did really at school in those days, in the mid-80s for computing. It was probably mainframes and things like that. But so he started learning to program. And so he brought that home, and he sort of showed me how to do it. And we both learned to program. We typed in games out of, not magazines at the time, but like a book of type-in listings you could get from Microsoft, I think it was, which they weren't for the computer that we had, but we typed them in anyway, and they mostly worked. So that's how we both learned to program. And of course, you're a kid, you make games, you don't make spreadsheets. It's much more fun. And of course, I used to make games for everybody at school. You know, people at school, your friends would be the characters in the games, and they'd be doing things which probably you shouldn't have done at the time, and probably shouldn't mention.
Okay.
But I won't talk about
Fun
that.
stuff. Fun stuff.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I actually had a game published in an Apple user magazine in 1983, I think. That was my first ever published game at the age of 14. It was a type-in listing, so people would type in and break their computers playing the game. Apparently, good start.
Excellent. Different times, right? Different times.
Yes.
Everyone was mostly self-taught.
Yes. Yeah, I do think. Well, there were. I don't know who would go to be taught. I mean, way before the internet, there must have been books around. But yeah, typing listings are really good because you learn how to debug. You type it in, and all kinds of things would go wrong, and you'd have to sort of then go through all the code and break it down and try and work out what things do. So it's not just copy and pasting like I suspect most people do these days. You actually had to type it in and think about what you were doing, and I think it was a good introduction to debugging.
Mm-hmm.
You're learning to debug at the same time as learning to program. It's a good thing.
Excellent. And so, was that the reason you wanted to get into like video game developing, working in the industry?
I suppose it was something. I left school. It was the time where there weren't really many jobs around. I worked in a snooker club. I tried to start a business cleaning cars, car washing, but I could program, and I pushed myself to learn a bit more. This was getting on to 68,000 times. So the Atari ST I had by this point, like late 80s. And so I learned 68,000 and tried to get jobs. And Arc Developments hired me. Actually, I got hired. I think my first job was supposed to be writing music and writing sound drivers. That's what I got hired for. And I did that for about a week when I got there. And then I got given a game to do. So I was going to do games, but sort of a different route into it than the usual, I think.
Excellent. Yeah. I think it's a little bit like I interviewed earlier this year John Hare.
I listened to that one.
Told a similar story, although with its differences, of course, but like there weren't a lot of jobs at the time, so this was a way to make some money as well, right? That was a solution to that problem.
Yeah, it was. It was a good money. It was £8,000 a year, which doesn't seem like a lot thinking back. I lived with my parents. I was 20. I lived with my parents, and it was great. Mm-hmm. It was great. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, John was a bit before me. I think he's a little bit older than me. He was one of the people I read about when I was getting into the industry.
Yeah. Definitely a little bit older. Yeah, for sure. And so you've since then worked for many different companies and developers, right? So like I think Core, Eden, right?
Well, I started at Arc Developments, which is in the Midlands here in the UK. And actually, that's where I met most of my long-term friends now. I still know a lot of the people from that company. And because we sort of grew up together, early 20s together. And I learned so much because a few of those had worked at Elite before that. So they'd been in it for 2 or 3 years before me. And I learned so much in the first 6 months or a year that I was there. It was brilliant. There's people like Stuart Middleton, who you should get on probably. He's written Master System and games. Okay. And Tim Rand did like R-Type 2, Forgotten Worlds, all kinds of things on ST and Amiga. Tim Coop also did Amiga stuff. He went on to work on Tomb Raider, I think, after that.
Okay.
So a bunch of people who were all pretty good, and it's great to be in a quite close environment with them and just learning so much in a short time. So Excellent. So then I thought, after 2 or 3 years there, I went freelance, and I worked for the same company. I worked for Arc freelance, and I worked for other companies around the area freelance as well. That was pretty good. Went on for a bit doing various other. That's when I was doing those Mega Drive games. I don't know whether you've seen the ones that I did early on. Wacky Races and
Yeah.
Dragon's Lair. Those were freelance at the time. So,
Okay.
so that was a bit better money if I ever got paid.
So since you mentioned that, so the Wacky Races was a game you worked on back in the day, was it?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, okay. So that's why you had access to it, because that was going to be one of my questions later on.
Yeah. Yes.
So these unreleased games, you worked on them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. At that time, I was the only programmer on them, I think.
Okay.
With artists were at the company that I worked for, but I was freelance. Yeah, but those two got cancelled, so I ended up keeping the code and when the internet came around, I accidentally slipped them onto the internet.
Oops.
Terrible.
Oh my god. Yeah, I saw an article. I don't know which website it was when the Wacky you released the Wacky Races game on itch.io.
Yes.
And I think it was like the article mentioned something like you can question the legality of this, and I was like, it's for free. It's not making any money from this, but
yeah, I mean, I do respect people IPs quite a lot, I think, but I'm not sure whether I should have done this or not. I can always take it down if I get proper complaints.
You're not making any money out of this, right? So unless people want to pay you, but you're not like selling the game. It's pay what you want. So
they can donate what they want. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
and some people actually have, amazingly.
Okay.
But the game's freely available on the rest of the internet anyway.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
You can always find it. Yeah.
Okay. That leads us to the work you've done for Mega Drive games, right? So you did a lot of other stuff you already mentioned, but you also worked on a lot of Mega Drive games. Any particular highlights you want to mention in terms of stuff you did?
I actually did 3 games for the Mega Drive in those days. So the first one was actually released, and that was Arch Rivals. That was the first game I did on Mega Drive. So I was an ST and Amiga programmer. So they said, "Here, do this." There was no one else available at ARC, and they got the Mega Drive dev kit in and said, "Here you go. You're doing this. You got 4 months." Okay. And we had the arcade game there, and some of the guys there put their soldering irons and oscilloscopes into the thing and managed to get the graphics out from the arcade game, from the ROMs. So that helped a lot. That saved us a lot of time. And it's like a lot of the time, it's like the first thing you do is a published game. When you get a new piece of equipment, you don't really have time to learn it very well. I mean, the first Amiga game I did, it was a conversion from ST, and I had 1 week with the manual to learn what to do. So obviously, this is why a lot of the ports in those days from ST to Amiga weren't great, because you weren't really given any time to to learn about the hardware. So you just do that and move on. So that was a learning experience doing Arch Rivals, which looking back was pretty badly made actually. But it was released on time. That was all that mattered in those days, I think. Yeah. And then I did a few more demos. So I went freelance. I was working for Eden, which was again formed by people from ARC. So all my friends basically. So I worked for them. I did a few demos. So we did demos of games, which they were trying to get the job to do the game. So we did a few of those. I wish I had some of those. Some fun stuff there, I think. They worked on, I don't know how you pronounce it, Soliel, Ragnarsenti. Mega Drive game.
Soleil. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like French, right? So for sun, Soleil.
Yeah, yes. I didn't know it's Soleil. We called it Soliel because it all came from a place near Solihull in Birmingham. So we called it Soliel. Anyway,
Crusader of Senti in the US.
That's right. Yeah. Ragnarsenti.
Oh, I didn't know.
Didn't
know you worked on that. Mm-hmm.
No, we did the European language conversion. So we got the ROMs, didn't get the source code, I don't think, and just had to plug in different languages. And it was quite a tricky thing to do, to basically work out what all the code did from looking at the disassembly and trying to find stuff in there. And then,
Okay.
It was good though. It was a couple of weeks and it was well paid. So.
Okay.
And it was apparently a famous game, so that was nice.
I quite like that game. Yeah, I quite like that game.
I think
it's like an underrated gem on the Mega Drive. I think. Yeah.
It's really good.
Pretty like
great music. Actually, I think it's one of the best musical scores for a Mega Drive game. Genesis
it has a very good soundtrack. It does. Yeah. Okay, didn't know that. Interesting.
So then I did Wacky Races and Dragon's Lair, and then I did Waterworld. I actually did Waterworld at the same time as doing Wacky Races. Waterworld was an interesting project because there were 3 or 4 programmers on it. It was a very, very short time period to get it done, as you had a lot with film licenses.
Okay.
So I think it was 3 different levels. So the 3 different programmers doing 3 different levels. I did a sort of underwater section. That's on the internet somewhere as well, but I don't feel like I can release that one myself. Again, but that was unreleased, sadly. And that wasn't so good because I was on a pure royalty payment for that one. I got no money at all for that one.
Oh.
I would have got, I think, 21 cents for every copy sold, had it sold, which wouldn't have been bad. But, Waterworld is massive, massive film. So it should have sold well, but no.
Yeah. Any idea why they didn't release it?
No, not at all.
No. Same with Wacky Races, or
Wacky Races. What I was told was that Virgin ended up realizing they didn't actually have the license for it.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah.
So, and they let it go so deep into development, and after all, we don't have the license,
and well beyond being finished.
Yeah.
Apart from, they didn't really give us any testing, so there were some bugs, I think, and various things. But yeah, that's what I was told. I don't know how true that is.
Okay, could be right. So different times as well.
Yeah, and the reason Dragon's Lair wasn't released, again, so I was told, is that it was too small a cartridge. So it was 4 megabit, is it? I can't remember. 256K.
Yeah.
And they wanted, at that time, it was getting towards the end of the lifetime of the Mega Drive. They wanted to release bigger games. So we said, well, we can make it bigger. We can put some FMV stuff on it or something, some animations or sounds, but they weren't interested.
Okay, actually,
this is what I was told.
Yeah, Dragon's Lair I haven't tried. I tried Wacky Races, but was it like? Were there any differences between versions in terms of the Mega Drive version? Was it any different?
Yeah, no, it's just a conversion of a SNES game.
Yeah,
that was by Elite. So it's just a conversion. It was just
a conversion. Nothing too demanding then, right?
No, it's a platformer.
You should have made it more demanding, of course, to make it bigger. Right?
Yes. Well, we did offer, seriously.
Yeah. The people who made the decisions either wouldn't have it.
More games cancelled than released from those years, that's for sure. I get it a bit later on because the marketing costs are bigger than the game development costs. So it's best to cut your losses sometimes if you think it's not going to work.
Yeah, but as a programmer, as a developer, it has to feel also from a monetary standpoint, but as a creator of something, it has to feel like harsh when they tell you that we're not going to go ahead with this, we're going to cancel this project, right?
Yeah. No, it is, especially if you've done all the crunching on it and stayed late. I don't think I ever minded that much. When I was freelance, I did fail to get my final payments for the games because of the schedule of the contract. So 50% of my Wacky Races payment was on release. So it never got released, so I didn't get half of the money. So that was obviously very annoying. But yeah, when you're in a company, I don't know. I think at the end of a project, you just want to move on anyway. I'm not that bothered really about things getting cancelled.
not that attached to the project.
No, you just want it to go. You'd be desperate for it to go away for a long time at that point. Whether it gets cancelled or not, it's fine.
Okay, makes sense. And so you worked on a lot of games, but at some point you decided to leave the industry, right? In a way, at least.
No, I did. Well, I wanted to leave the actual industry. Yeah, I got to a point where it's very hard to talk about this without slagging everybody else off in the world. Basically, I didn't want to have any producers. Didn't want to have any people in charge of me telling me what to do when I've been doing it for longer than they've been alive, and you feel like you know better than they do.
Okay,
but all good. Got out of it in the end, and went into. It was great because going from A8 from it was called AAA at the time. The last game I did was Tiger Woods Golf on the DS and the PSP. Really nice versions of the game, I think. And those weren't too long because the previous games before that they were like 2 or 3 years and then getting cancelled.
Yeah.
But moving on out of that into Flash, when we sort of discovered the Flash market, a friend of mine, Rob, I also used to work with in the old days. So he was doing some Flash games, and he was an artist, so I teamed up with him, and we churned out Flash games week after week for a long time. We really loved it. It was just great to do things in a week or two after spending so much time on previous games. Almost like going back to the early days, Commodore 64, Spectrum game days when you could just make stuff, release it.
Yeah.
So it was great. The freedom was fantastic.
Yeah. Any highlights of that period of time, like in terms of what you worked on for you, like personal highlights? I mean.
Yeah. I think just being able to do it and make money was great. And we grew the business from that we almost made a loss in the first year, but we grew the business and made quite a lot of money over the years. We were making games for other people, which is nice. You're making games to make money, so you work out what people want and you make games, but you still try. Doesn't have to be a personal love game. You still try. You still put your best into it and make it as fun as you can and as good as you can. So I think things like Cyclomaniacs was probably one of our biggest franchises. You release something and you just no idea if people are going to like it or not. And some of the games they just take off and you get lots of people loving the thing.
But it was probably easier to understand the public reaction with those kinds of games in those days, right? With the internet and everything. Because back in the day, you would maybe have like reports, like sales reports, and know if the games were actually a bit popular or not, sell a little bit or not. But
never even had that. Never had any idea about how any of the games I've ever done sold, apart from one actually. I'll talk about that in a bit. But it's good to have feedback. Obviously, you can try and correct things. But like we tried to do, because this Cyclomaniacs was quite successful, so we tried to make a sequel, but we didn't, because everybody asked about it liked something different about it, so you don't know where to go. I think we didn't quite do so well with the sequel. We pushed in all directions and ended up not pleasing everybody quite as much, I suppose. And that happened with a few of the games. So it was difficult to know where to go. The worst thing is actually, because I think we must have released 150 or 200 games during that time. The worst thing is coming up with names. One of the hardest thing is coming up with names for the game.
That's a good point. That's a good point. So how did you do it? Do you have like a special trick, special technique to come up with names?
puns as much as we can.
Okay.
Puns. I mean, we come up with a pun and try and make a game on it. Like Flaming Zombuka is a game about exploding zombies. Obviously, red hot rod. So yeah, that's obviously a game you've got to make, isn't it?
Okay, yeah, of course. Yeah. That's actually a good process. You start with the name and you go from there.
Yeah,
nice. And you can't go wrong with puns.
Soccer balls. That was one.
So what was it? Just soccer or more?
It was. I don't know. I think because a lot of the games actually had well, so we thought at least a lot of comedy elements in them. Flash games. The graphic style that Rob had was it lent itself to comedic style. He did a lot of caricatures of people, so we do lots of different sort of footballers, referees in there, and yeah, it's just a light-hearted style. So
okay, so I actually found soccer balls, and it says in this game, teamwork is really important. Hit the referee with the soccer ball and try to get red carded. Unlock the 3 stars in all 36 levels. Nice.
That's it. Yeah,
makes sense.
How I think of football. Yeah.
Do you have soccer balls? That would be a nice tagline.
You can't go too far. I've got children here. Children playing flash games. The one game I got, I was going to mention that we had sales figures for was a game called. It's my first released PlayStation 1 game, and I basically got persuaded to move companies to go and do it because they were desperate for someone to do PlayStation 1 games. And I'd done PlayStation, but only demos. I hadn't done a full game at that point. But I got dragged over. 6-month game. First month, we didn't even manage to get the dev kit working. It took a whole month to get the dev kit work. Nightmare. Sony's dev kits in those days were horrible. We had to get a totally different PC for it. It was a full length, can't remember what PC card, and double width, so it was in 2 slots at the same time. It touched the PC it was in, it would just pop out. It never worked. So that was, the Noddy franchise, a Noddy game. So we did this game. It was a children's educational game for the BBC, and I got they desperately sort of headhunted me to come and work on it, and it was a big rush job. And I think the first 3 months sale figures, I think they sold, it was something like 400 copies.
Okay.
Overall. And that would have gone downhill, almost like a rare DVD that would be.
Yeah, it's probably worth a lot of money these days.
Yeah.
The lesser, distributed games are usually worth a lot of money these days. So, hey, maybe if you have a couple of copies lying around, maybe you can make some serious money.
Well, you don't get given. I didn't get given any copies. That was rarely a thing. So yeah, our company did well out of it. They made a lot of money, but the BBC must have made a hefty loss.
Yeah. At least you got paid. So
yes. I was working. At that point I was working. Full time at the company. So that was
excellent.
Good. Sensible.
Yeah. But I know we mentioned like the Mega Drive. We skipped everything else. So thank you for bringing us back a little bit in time. But you worked on other games, right? So for other consoles and other console generations as well, right?
Yeah.
I was looking at your credits online. I saw something like Starsky and Hutch for like multi-platform. I think.
Yeah, PS2 and
Xbox, GameCube. Yeah.
Although we didn't do the GameCube one, that was someone else did that. Yeah.
Okay.
But before that, I did some Saturn stuff. That was good. Did a Saturn game, which again was unreleased. That was called Conquest Earth, which was like a Command and Conquer type thing. But you take, you could sort of click on an individual character and control with the joypad, and you could go in jeeps and things, drive around. So it was actually a quite nice sort of arcade Command and Conquer type game. And the Saturn was I think it was the first thing I did after the Mega Drive. Went straight onto Saturn,
Yeah.
And what a joy! I love the Saturn. It was what a crazy beast of a machine that was. That would take years to get used to. So and the manual there's I don't know 50 times as thick as the Mega Drive manual, hardware manual. It do so much, but yeah, it was a beast. But that was the only one. Again, I managed to get into this towards the end of the life of the console.
Okay.
So nobody wanted the games at that point. And I think after that I did Dreamcast.
Okay.
Yes, Dreamcast was nice. Yeah. Yeah, I did a lot of low-level things back then. So I'd write the 3D renderers, and then writing all this DSP code on the Dreamcast was you could spend like a week optimizing a lighting function just with my music on and the darkness around me, and just really getting into the zone of optimizing code, which I loved that at the time. It was good. Which is something I've actually gone back to with the Mega Drive now. It's a nice return to low-level optimization.
So like you're into like the core aspect of programming and like optimizing code and stuff. So that's what makes you happy, right?
It does now. I've been through a lot of the time. My favorite thing is making the tools. It actually still is in some way. Because I think that's like the most important thing of game development is making the tools that enable you to make the games.
Okay.
It's a lot of the time, sort of, I don't know, 90% of the code written in some of these games is the tooling. This is obviously before people used Unity and Unreal, so you'd obviously make those engines for each game, that sort of thing. And yeah, it's a nice thing because you've got that. You do get immediate feedback with that because you have an end user, which is the rest of your team, which is the designers and the artists. They're using the tools, and they can come and shout at you and show you how to do things how they want it. That you can refine your processes because you got a lot of feedback, which is really good.
Yeah, that's nice. Right, like it's more immediate than like the end product. Sometimes you get some feedback, sometimes you don't, and people, especially if you're like working in like if you're a programmer, you're working on the code. It's not something that people see, right? They see whatever appears on screen.
Yeah, exactly. Someone to see the code.
So it's usually like not something that people will say, "Oh, this was poorly coded."
Yeah.
Or at least not in a way that they understand what they're saying.
Of course, these days you do get a lot of this because people can see people's code on GitHub and decompile the code. Like, I'm always ready for the excuse saying, "Oh no, it was midnight. I couldn't help it. it just fixed this bug. We couldn't fix it in any other way. We had to just hack it." You never had time to fix bugs properly, so you'd always have to hack it. It's like, I feel really bad for people whose code goes out online. It's just it's not what you wouldn't write the code like that if you had the time to do it that way. For anything that gets released on the internet.
Excellent. Okay, so Julian, going forward, then you now have Space Pence Games.
Yeah.
And you're actually working. You've released unreleased Mega Drive games that we've mentioned before. You're working on new stuff as well. What led you to create this new company, this new project?
I had some spare time, really. I stopped having to work full time to make money. We've got games out there which I have to go and update here and there. You have to load up Unity occasionally to go and do some work in that and update because Android's changed something, that sort of thing. I don't like to talk about that because I don't like it. I don't like Unity at all. I hate Unity. So it's such a nice thing to do to go to get out of using Unity and go and work on something which I know I can make something which is much more immediate than Unity. I can make some tools that, for me anyway, that they work a lot better. And also at this point, I think somebody must have mentioned Mega Drive games to me, and I thought, oh, there's new games coming out. Oh, that's interesting. I went and found downloaded SGDK,
Okay.
steps which everyone seems to use these days. That's a great job. He's done a great job of that. And I did 3 little games in C with that, just to test it out. But I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy doing any C at all. Going back, not quite to the time that I enjoyed the most. It was like, I want to go back and have the immediacy of 68,000. It's stupid because you can get stuff done much quicker in C, supposedly. But I thought at this point it would be interesting to try and recreate the sort of environment I had in the 90s, and see what difference it would make these days with modern computers and tools that are available. So the first game I started working on was Rocket Panda, which is hopefully going to be released soon. But with that, I started everything from scratch. I wrote all the tools from scratch, like map editors, just like you would do back in the 90s. You had to write the tools, and I wanted to see if the modern tooling would help in any way. But I made a strange decision to use Unity to write my tools in.
Okay.
Because I was using Unity sort of as the day job then, so I thought it would help me in some way. So I did that, wrote an entire tool set, map editors, even like music sequencer, sprite editors, and things like that. And it all worked. It was all fine. But I since rewrote it in something else because I took abandon the entire tool set because I hated going in Unity.
Okay. The hate is deep.
The hate,
very deep.
Turnaround for making code changes is very, very slow, and I feel like I'm at my age. I haven't got many minutes left. You can't waste minutes waiting for things to compile. So.
Okay.
That was it. It was but the biggest thing these days is emulators. I mean, having emulators is massive. Just to be able to just download. I mean, I can compile the entire game, assemble the entire game, and run it in the what am I saying?
Emulator.
Run it in the emulator in like a second. And I think going back, I can't remember the time, how long it took. But I remember 10-minute compile times on the ST, things like that, onto floppy. So that sort of thing, just being able to turn things around that quickly is I don't think people probably underestimate how big a difference that makes to everything. It's just the immediacy of seeing what you've done, because you end up forgetting what you've changed. I do it now, but even back then in the early days, you'd forget what you've been testing, because you have to wait 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you get distracted and do something else in between. What was I doing? I have no idea. So you have to do it again, so it's wasteful. So yeah, that was really the thing. I wanted to write everything from scratch and sort of build up the tooling and build up the engine, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
So then I rewrote the tooling entirely. And that's it's still work in progress. That.
Okay. So, Eddie, do you have like an idea when it'll be ready to release?
The tooling?
No, the game. So you were talking about. I was talking still about the game that you mentioned, Space Panda, right?
Rocket Panda, yeah.
Oh, Rocket Panda. Sorry.
Yeah, it's been a Kickstarter is supposed to be starting this month, I think. It's with
nice.
Megacat. It's with Megacat Games.
Okay.
Megacat Studios. So they should be ramping that up hopefully soon.
Okay.
That'd
So
be
it's
good.
it's really close.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah.
Okay.
But that is very exciting because because you can release stuff yourself easily, but having actually a proper publisher and marketeer behind it is really good.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that works. See if there's any income. Not really doing it for money, but once I've discovered that there's a possibility of making money on it, that is probably part of the fun of making games for me as well. It's finding an income stream.
For sure, yeah. So it's nice because you usually with like Mega Cat, they do a great job with this as well, and other publishers. There's usually like a physical version, right, with the cartridge in the box, like so you can actually get that feeling of being in the 90s and getting a new Mega Drive game. And that's nice as well.
Yeah. We're not releasing this one on as a digital, at least not yet. I think because they say that that does spoil a lot of the physical sales if it gets out there. So yeah, been holding that one back for quite a long time.
Okay, so it's done then. In that case, it's basically done.
It's done. We've done the interviews and we've done. They're producing merchandise for it and stuff like that. It's quite exciting. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. So now it's just a matter of waiting for the Kickstarter to release very soon. Very soon. Okay, that's nice. That's really nice. Yeah. Anything? So for people curious about Rocket Panda, what's like the elevator pitch for this game?
It's well, actually, from the development process, it was I wanted to write something like a thrust type game, which I've always liked that sort of game. Just so I did that, and that's when Ben came in, who was my partner in Space Pact, and he drew some graphics for it. And Rocket Panda is a character we've used in previous games, about 3 or 4 different Flash games. We like him, so he's made a reappearance. And it's got a theme tune as well. It's got a theme song actually on the Flash version of it, which is me singing, which is terrible. But and luckily not on the Mega Drive version.
Okay.
But we've got the subtitles. We've got the text instead of me singing in that one, so that's good. And we were able to write a couple of new verses for it for him going back to 16.
No digitized voice. No.
Too much ROM space.
You would make it bigger. No?
I would make it bigger. I don't want to do that. Yeah, it's flying around rescuing creatures with all kinds of weird and wonderful aliens trying to stop you, and lots of bosses, because we just love to do the bosses on the Mega Drive. That's what it's all about, doing the bosses. Trying to do see what kind of effects you can come up with. So you've got sort of what looks like full screen scaling bosses and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
All good fun to do. So
is it like more of a shoot 'em up type game, or
it's a flying around dodging things game mostly.
Okay.
There's no shooting in it.
Oh, okay.
There's no shooting in it. There's like you can launch yourself at things occasionally and destroy them, but it's mostly dodging. It's finding way around mazes and timing. It's quite hard. It's a difficult game.
Yeah, it looks hard actually. Looking at like the screenshots that you've posted in the short videos, it looks hard. Like there's an element of precision, right, in terms of like dodging some of the elements and some of the like the spikes and stuff.
Yeah, we did, because we developed it all on emulators, and I only got a Mega Drive right towards the end of development, a real one, when I decided when we found out that we were going to have to do this. And yes, playing it with the D-pad was a very different experience. So we had to go back and change the controls a little bit after that, and did actually go and make a lot of the levels easier.
Okay.
Because you just didn't have the control with the D-pad.
Yeah, because with the analog stick, you have like
well, I was using
360.
keyboard. I was using keyboard to control, so just up down, left, right, so very precise. So in an emulator, yeah.
And you find it easier with the keyboard than the D-pad?
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, I think it's just maybe because the D-pads I had were 40 years old.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, just the D-pad you can easily touch left when you're going up. That sort of thing. You can get the wrong direction.
Okay.
So,
actually, I do miss the Mega Drive, the original Mega Drive D-pad. One of the ones that I like the most. Yeah, like the 8 direction. You have the diagonals were easy.
Yeah.
Although, as you pointed out, after some use, some wear and tear, they wouldn't be as precise as before. So yeah, there's a challenge.
because when I was doing Mega Drive games back then, part of the Sega checks they did was to use. I don't know if they used a real joypad, but they used a joypad which you could press all the buttons at the same time, the directions. So they knew very well these would wear out, and that could happen with a real one. So your code had to cope with left and right and up and down being pressed at the same time. Otherwise, it would fail. It would fail lock check.
Yeah.
So I always write my code like that now as well. I have done it ever since. Even if you shouldn't be able to do this, someone's going to do it somehow.
Yeah. Excellent. So Rocket Panda coming soon. And we'll share the news when the Kickstarter is out as well with the people.
Yeah.
Julian, let's take a quick break here because I'm enjoying our conversation very much. But we always have a tradition. If you've listened to the show, you know we have a tradition here on the SEGA Lounge, which is something we like to call the SEGA Lounge Challenge.
Now that you know our guests, it's time to put them to the test. It's the moment we've waited for and the moment they dread.
Welcome to your doom.
I mean, welcome to the SEGA Lounge Challenge.
I like that reaction. Okay, so this time I'm not going to do anything like crazy. This time I thought to myself, here's a man who worked on some games, on some Mega Drive games and other systems. So a question: how well would you say you know Mega Drive games in general?
I never owned a Mega Drive myself. I mean, I did play some just to around the time because you had to see what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
But I was giving a Mega Drive, make games for it, move on.
Okay.
So we were playing Mario Kart more than anything at the time.
Okay. So that's the perfect setting for this challenge. So what I thought of doing is I thought of going back to the back covers. They had those little blurbs explaining the game with some screenshots, and so I'll read some of these to you. And you'll have to tell me if you can, guess what the games are, which game I'm talking about. I'll give you some options if you need them. Okay, but we'll do this. So
this is only my game, right? Probably wouldn't
no.
get
No. That would make it too easy. I think maybe there are some of yours here in the mix. I'm not saying there are, but maybe. But don't count on it too much, okay?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'll try to redact these a little bit because some mentioned the name of the game. So number one, okay? Bust the video game speed barrier wide open with redacted. Blaze by in a blur using the super redacted spin attack. Loop the loop.
Even I can get this one.
Loop the loop by defying gravity. You can even spin around in a 360-degree rotating maze. You've never seen anything like it. So you're saying Sonic the Hedgehog?
Unless it's a sequel, the Sonic. Did Sonic have the Sonic 2?
A few sequels actually on the Mega Drive. Yeah.
But which one had that? I remember the rotating maze thing. I don't know. Sonic 2.
So if you remember, which one was it? Which one do you remember playing the most?
Sonic 1 I remember playing the most. The first one. I'll go for that.
I think that's a good option. Well done. That's it. Good job.
Yeah.
1 point. Good job. Very good. Excellent. So, see, this is not that hard. This is actually quite easy.
No, the most famous SEGA game of all time. Yeah.
Okay, number two. Number two. You are a young adventurer out to defend the town of Redacted from the reemergence of the creatures of darkness with the aid of your animal friends and a trusty sword. Okay. Battle monsters, pick up items, and question people to achieve your quest. Travel along the beach, through magical forests, and scale the perilous volcano in your quest to find the ultimate truth. This is a massive isometric adventure game with over 80 hours of absorbing gameplay, wonderful graphics, and amazing animation.
See, that sounds exactly like Ragnar, apart from the isometricness. But
And it actually has some quotes here from Mean Machines. 92% lavish arcade adventure that frankly demands purchase. Wow. A deep, highly entertaining adventure. 89% from Sega Magazine.
I've got to go for Soleil.
Soleil. Could be. Could very well be. And it is. Yes, it is. This is a very long description, actually. It's like the whole back of the box. And just English. Okay, good job. Let's go with another one, shall we? You're doing great, Julian. Doing amazing. Okay. The Redacted are on the move. They walk off cliffs, wander mindlessly into flames, and drop like rocks into pools of water. They need you to help them dig, build, and blast their way to safety in over 100 levels that go from fun to beyond mayhem.
Lemmings.
The Lemmings are on the move?
They are.
They are. They are. Okay.
I'm more sure of this one, so it's probably wrong.
What led you to say like almost immediately Lemmings?
They're on the move. They're always on the move. Those Lemmings were. I thought actually Worms came to mind first of all, but I just got them mixed up. Yeah, Lemmings.
So your answer is Lemmings, Julian.
I'm sticking with Lemmings.
You're sticking with Lemmings. Final answer. Yes. Good job. Well done. Yeah, you're great at this. You're great.
So I played Lemmings on the Atari ST.
Okay.
But not on the Mega Drive.
It was available practically on everything, right? Yeah, even Master System. I think there's a Game Gear version. Not sure. Oh, yeah. Okay. Number 4. Okay, so this starts with this little subtitle. Includes 2 more levels than the arcade game. And then it says, in Turtle Village, the children, typo, are fleeing for their lives. The invaders are brutal, ugly, and 12 feet tall, with huge arms and bellowing laughs. They love pounding you into the dirt. And that's it. I didn't even have to redact anything. Golden Axe, why?
Well, it was an arcade game. Had big characters in it, as I recall. It was a village, perhaps. And yeah, they
You've played this one? You've played Golden Axe?
The arcade game.
The arcade game?
Yeah, I played the Mega Drive one. Yeah.
The Mega Drive one. Okay. So Golden Axe, you say. Golden Axe is your guess. Interesting guess. Is it correct, though? Unfortunately, It is actually, yes. Yes, it is. It is. It is Golden Axe. Yes, they love pounding you into the dirt. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
that's nice.
That's right. There was big hammers in it, weren't there?
Yeah, there were. Yeah. Okay, number 5. No, number 5. I've lost count. I think yes, it's 5. It's 5. Okay, ready?
Yep.
Okay. The real arcade action between the Redacted is really hot. Because tonight there are no fouls. What? No fouls? All caps. That's a fight. No fouls. This is something where breaking the rules is part of the rules.
I think you found this one for me.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Hmm?
It's a basket brawl. It's
I didn't say that. I haven't finished. I'm just checking in on you and see if you're okay. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah.
So you wanna risk it?
I'll risk it. Carry on.
Should I? Okay. I didn't want to because there are so many words that I need to redact. Okay. If you can't block a shot, knock your opponent's block off. Redacted also takes real skills like passing, shooting, dribbling, ball handling, slam dunks, and 3-point shots. It's not just that sport. It's what?
It's that word.
It's what?
It's
what?
basketball.
It's basketball. So what's the game?
Arch rivals.
Very good. Good job. Well done. Well
I
done.
had played that one. That's true.
Okay. That's good. That's good. That's a good sign. Arch Rivals, the arcade game. Actually, the full title. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done. Okay, let's do another one. This one's probably a little bit, I don't know. Let's see.
I think we're definitely running out of games that I know.
I'm gonna go with this. I'll explain why. I don't know if you know this one, but I'll explain why in a little bit. So, Redacted, the only hope of a desperate nation. The Black Knight and his army of psychotic robotic soldiers have brought death and destruction to the once tranquil land of Elhorn. Can Redacted defeat the wicked warlock, and restore peace to his homeland once again? These are very small. Have to zoom in every time, and I'm getting old. So that's it.
That's not ringing any bells.
The Redacted is not the name of the game. The Redacted is the name of the character, which I can actually tell you. I don't know if it'll spoil anything, but it's Sparkster. So Sparkster, the only hope of a desperate nation.
Is he Wonder Boy?
Could be.
I can't recognize this at all. I'll go for Wonder Boy.
Wonder Boy.
Yeah.
That's a good shout. That's a good guess. But is it Wonder Boy? It is not. No, it is not. No. It's Rocket Knight Adventures. Why did I go with this one? Because, Rocket Panda. Yeah, you had a rocket. This is an opossum. Sparkster is a opossum. Yeah, Rocket Knight Adventures. There were 2 games on the Mega Drive: Rocket Knight Adventures and Sparkster, the sequel.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. If I saw a screenshot, I'd probably remember it. But
it's a Konami game. Game. Yeah.
Was it an arcade game? Or?
No, not an arcade game. No. There were SNES versions. I think they were both different. They also had like Rocket Knight Adventures and Sparkster, but they were actually different games in some aspects. In both of them were different, although they share the same titles. Okay, let's just do a couple more because I think you've got 5 correct answers, so you've passed this test.
I'm happy with this.
Yeah, but let's just do a couple more because I'm a sadist. So the next one is as follows. Okay, really getting old and blind. Okay, need to zoom into this. So, explore the sinister side of nature as you control a troop of armed up, never say die redacted in an arcade strategy extravaganza. Use shotguns, bazookas, homing missiles, and banana bombs in your bid for survival and the ultimate accolade, victory. You control a troop of armed up, never say die, redacted.
I mean, this is... Oh, is it Worms?
Why?
Banana bombs.
It is Worms, yes, of course. Only worms have banana bombs. Yes, very good. Good job. Okay.
I didn't play that on Mega Drive, but those games, that and Lemmings, would have been quite difficult to make on a tiled screen. A bit more animation, so I would be very impressed to see that working well.
Okay. Yeah. Lemmings and Worms, or just Worms?
Both, because they used a bit map screen, yeah. Which is quite tough to do, yeah.
Yeah, I do remember. I never played the Mega Drive version of Worms, but I played Lemmings. Never owned it, but played it several times back in the day. And it wasn't for me as a kid, actually, because it required a lot of patience and strategy, and I didn't have either of them at the time. But I remember loving the visuals, loving like the idea of the game and the look of it. And I always remember the one of the box arts that I remember from my childhood is the Lemmings box art.
Yeah,
like
the picture.
Yeah, the picture of the.
Like they're sort of walking out. They're walking out towards you. Green thing. Someone's holding something at the front. Like,
yeah, like a parasol or an umbrella or something, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember that well, but I think you get to kill lots of them accidentally, don't you? Which is always fun to do.
Yeah. I mean, they kill themselves, so they're always. I think you're supposed to, protect them.
Yeah.
But but I think there's only a limited number. Like the goal is like to save. You have like 99 or 100 lemmings, and you have to save maybe 50, so the other ones can die.
We definitely made similar sort of games for in the Flash world. Just the idea of a constant stream of things coming, and you have to sort of juggle your items to save them or protect them or whatever.
Yeah, and there are games even now that utilize that same sort of logic, right? Like cooking games and stuff. You have like a constant flow of things coming at you, and you have to juggle everything. Yeah.
Yeah. There was a game called I'm not going to get this. An old Broderbund game, probably on the Commodore 64, and I had it on the Apple II. Oh, Gumball it was called, and it was a sort of an early version of that sort of thing.
Okay.
And it was like a machine, and these balls keep dropping down through it, and you have to get them into the right coloured pots at the bottom. And when you got a single button, to open and close. And it's a similar sort of thing, and I always enjoyed that one.
Yeah. And Tapper, I think it's like that sort of thing as well on the arcades, right?
It's
a little bit
constant.
And you have to juggle everything. Very simple games in both premise and execution, but very complicated to master.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're the sort of games that you end up finishing a level, you realise you've held your breath for the entire time.
Yeah.
Or is that just me? That might be me.
No, it is. Yeah, you're right. And it's funny, like you didn't need like 3D realistic graphics and stuff like that, right? And it's the simple things are the best ones.
Yeah.
Okay, so Julian, thank you very much. You were amazing at the SEGA Lounge Challenge. So that means you earned yourself the SEGA Lounge seal of approval. Well done.
Hooray.
Very good. Very good. Okay. So after that, breathtaking challenge, I'm sweating and everything. So let's go back to a little bit more into Space Spence games. I'll let you go in a few minutes. But so what else can you tell us about like the work that you've been doing? Something that I enjoyed playing was Gunslugs. So obviously not an original game, but how did you end up porting that to the Mega Drive?
Yeah. So Ben, my partner, is busier than I am, so he doesn't get a lot of chance to draw graphics. So I'm there trying to find other people to work with. So ideally for me, I get a finished game and I just convert it, and that's for me that's perfect because I just have to implement everything. I do the fun parts, which is the programming, not the game design.
Yeah.
And I know Pascal from Orange Pixel, so I just did it for fun. I thought we'll do this. I didn't ever think we were ever going to release it on a cartridge, but people were interested, so we did. It's good. And I'm doing another. I have another one of his which is basically finished as well now. Heroes of Loot. I'm just waiting on the original music for that one, so I can convert the music over, and then that one's going to be finished. And let me think, I've got another.
I have a lot on your plate.
I can't remember the names of the games that I'm working on. It's terrible. Another game which is virtually finished, which is another one by somebody else. And I've just started another brand new one conversion, which is Go Go Pogo Girl.
Yeah.
By OSAT. That's find that on Steam.
Yeah.
And that's coming along nicely. 6 days into that conversion now, and it's all looking good. But again, it's perfect. I get sprites. I get to play the original game, and I do what I loved to do when I was young, which is play the arcade game and try and make a version of it which is roughly correct. That's all we need to do, and sort of analysing what's going on and then trying to replicate it. And that's actually easier, I think, than looking at people's code sometimes. Instead of trying to code convert things, so I'd have to write everything in a totally different way anyway because it's an assembler. It's just easier to do it how I want to do it instead of how they want me to do it.
Yeah. It's so
and the thing about doing this
you
is
keep that middleman, like the producer or anything that you didn't really care about.
And all of these games are great because they all build on my tools. So every time I make these games, I have to add a few things to my tool set and add things to the engine, and so it all helps with the original games as well. So it's a constantly growing thing. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, and so how can people find your games? What's the best way for people that want to contribute and help with your current works? Where can they go?
Yeah, Itch. So we're Space Spence Games on Itch and Twitter. We've got a Facebook page as well, but not a Facebook. No, we haven't. We've got a YouTube page as well. But that's I just post things that have generally been on Twitter. Sorry, X.
Yeah, exactly.
X. Twitter's perfect. No, Twitter's not perfect.
No. Far from it. Yeah, yes. But it's the best way to get in touch if people want to and to find out what's going on, right? With Space Spence games.
Yeah, we have. Okay. I think we have at least 8 original games on the go at the moment.
Excellent.
In various stages of development.
Okay, and by original you mean original or conversions?
Original games.
Original games, and the conversions as well that you're working on.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
so
actually all in the same project. I just Swap between them.
Okay.
Yeah, so hopefully, I mean, our goal when we get time is to actually make some really good, technically advanced Mega Drive games. Can't wait. There's a game we're working on which is a sort of a Contra-like 2D platformer, but it's got all kinds of things like realistic water movement, splashes, and swinging on ropes. Not in the old style, but in the modern style of swinging on ropes, which are proper physics for ropes and things like that. But yeah, it's just finding the time now to get into these. Oh, and another new one we're working on is a game which is like Resogun. I've been playing Resogun a bit on PS4.
Okay.
And so I'm going to do a sort of a demake of Resogun, or an upmake of Resogun.
Okay.
Even better. Yeah, a Defender type game.
Okay.
Really looking forward to getting back on that one again.
Excellent.
It's great fun. Yeah. That's the sort of game I like to play.
How do you find the time for so much?
I don't. This is why they're all in development and they're not released yet, isn't it?
So, but before I conclude this with my final question, which is coming, but so you decided to work. Is it mostly or exclusively on the Mega Drive right now?
It's exclusively on Mega Drive.
Exclusively.
Right now. Yeah.
Why the Mega Drive? Because you could have gone with even if you went with like retro consoles, you could go with the Dreamcast or something like a little bit more powerful. Why the Mega Drive specifically?
I think it's my favorite to work on ever.
Okay.
You can manage it. A single person can manage the Mega Drive. You can get everything you need to know in your head at the same time on the Mega Drive. When you're moving up to Dreamcast and Saturn, you have to keep going, looking things up all the time. You can never quite master the beast. And I love 68,000 assembler. It's just my favorite. It's the high-level language of assembler. Nice and easy. I used to really feel sorry for my colleagues working on 6502 and Z80, and especially 8086. I did a lot of 8086 games as well. So it's horrible compared with the 68,000. It's just they're all horrible. It's a perfect processor for me. But yeah, this is
Okay.
I just love it.
That's great. And looking forward to seeing what you can do to push the limits of the hardware as well, right? So that's always fun. And that's always something that we have been, or not always, but it's something we've, many times see. It's not really the case here. We're talking about a person who's been in this industry for a very long time, but not in like an official capacity. We don't have officially released games like that are supported by by Sega anymore. But we've seen a lot of like homebrew and indie style games that have really been pushing the boundaries and the limits of the software. So it's always nice when we get that.
Yeah, and the demo scene actually for the Mega Drive is good. They do some good stuff. Which I sort of don't like doing that. I just like making games, but it would be fun to do all the technical stuff as well, I think. But yeah, it's great. I mean, the first game, both back to Rocket Panda, I deliberately didn't use any internet resources so I printed out the old Sega manuals and just used those exclusively for that game. But since then, I've been going through. There's so much more information on the internet these days. For it all gets shared. All the code gets shared for different interesting things. It's just it's fantastic. I mean,
it's a whole new world out there.
Would have killed for that in the 90s.
Yeah. Amazing. Okay. And so people obviously can find you, can find all the information about Space Pants games and you, Julian, in the show notes. So we'll leave all the links, all the relevant links there. And hopefully we'll have news on the Kickstarter very soon as well. We'll share that on the show for sure. Something that we always like to help promote. But I have one last question, and it's always the same. So back in the 90s, Julian, especially in the US with the Genesis. Sega said that the Genesis had blast processing. Okay. Obviously a real thing. And my question to all my guests is, if you could add blast processing to anything in the world, what would it be and why?
I'll tell you what, it would be the 32X.
Okay.
Because the 32X is rubbish. It needs something. It needs some blast processing. Or the Jaguar, actually.
The Jaguar, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, a challenge for you. When are you making 32X games then?
When I finish making all of these games. I never did. We had the manual for it, and we had the manual for the whatever Sega used on virtual racing carts back in the day. Yeah, it was a similar thing. It was a DSP.
Yeah.
Well, I can't remember what processor it was, but it was similar to the 32X really. So we had all the information about it, but never got a chance to use it. So yeah, maybe when the emulators are working well. I don't know if they are. We need a working emulator.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I do know some people who are working on that. So, yeah.
Okay. So
when I've run out of blast processing on the Mega Drive.
Excellent. So Julian, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Very nice to meet you and to talk to you, and hopefully you can come back soon and talk about more of those works in progress when they're released.
Yes, that'd be fantastic. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. A big thank you to Julian for coming on the show, and I'm really bummed I forgot to mention a specific game of his during our talk. Head over to spacepantsgames.itch.io and check out Passing Breeze. Yeah, it's a choose-your-own-adventure game set in an arcade in the 90s, and it's filled with music, references, and jokes related to classic Sega games. It's a fun little experience to check out if you're a Sega fan, for sure. So go to spacepantsgames.itch.io, check out Passing Breeze. And that's about it for this week's show. We've got a couple more episodes to go, one of which will be our season finale, and that will be dedicated to Sonic the Hedgehog. We've talked about specific Sonic games and DLC this season, but this time, myself, Lime, and Skill Jim are doing a roundup of all that's happened in the world of Sonic in 2023, which was surprisingly, or maybe not, a lot. So check that out in a couple of weeks. For now, though, it's time to close the doors of the Sega Lounge. Thanks for listening. Remember to leave us a nice review on your podcast app of choice if you haven't done so yet. And I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye. The Sega Lounge, hosted by me, KC, and part of Radio Sega's network of live shows and podcasts. Theme song and incidental music by OSC. Find them at opussciencecollective.bandcamp.com. Got any suggestions? Drop me an email to podcast@thesegalounge.com. Find us at The Sega Lounge on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can find previous episodes of the show by going to thesegalounge.com and wherever fine podcasts are downloaded. A Mixed On Productions podcast.